Guys, so my goal here is to bring a little bit the culture and the growth mindset that you need when you work in the startup environment, because you are always looking to scale the business, and you are always being pressured to scale the business by everyone. So if you go and try to raise an investment round, if it is a seed round, a Series A, whatever, you are always being pressured to grow. And this growth mentality comes from the culture that you have in terms of your organization, but also in the structure that you are leveraging, and obviously from the strategy that you have in terms of the business model that you are creating. So I will try to sell a little bit, but my goal here is to build with you a little bit our business case in terms of hub, and recreate a little bit our process and our design process of building this culture, this strategy, this vision. So I will go through all those points, and let's try to make this a little bit together. And feel free to ask any question, to interrupt as you wish. And so I will start with a paradox that we usually see, because whenever you are building something, a house, whatever, you are building the foundations first, and that is the most important thing that you are doing. Actually, when you are building a company, you have to build the most uncertain thing first, because you have to build your vision first, your mission first, your values first, and you don't have nothing. So I don't have a foundation. You can say this is a foundation, but actually this is the most difficult part to see. You have to iterate a lot. And so I would say that this is a little bit our paradox. You have to think a lot before you start doing whatever you want to build. And so let's try to break it down as we did in terms of the building process that we did at Hub. So in terms of the vision, what we have now, and remember that all of these processes are iteration, are iterative in a certain way. So you don't build a vision, you don't build a mission forever. You build a vision for, imagine, 5 years, and 6 months, a year from now, you will build again a vision for 5 years. And this is the iteration that you have to do. So you don't build a vision for 5 years, you go and work these 5 years, and afterwards you'll build another vision. That is not the process that we want to build here. You have to iterate, and iterate as fast as possible, without obviously changing too much the organization. And so we want to empower in a distinctive fashion brand to make a difference in the established ecosystem in a sustainable way. Obviously, you have to combine a lot of words, and this is a very personal interpretation that your organization will do from everything that you will write now. But the main here is you have to see the goal, the impact that you have and you want to make. And so your vision is a lot related with that impact. It's something in the future that you have to see. It's not something that you want to be the best in the world, because that is not an impact. That is something that it comes as a consequence. A mission is a path for us to get there. And so what we want is to democratize the access for a fully established supply chain for independent fashion brands throughout our collaborative platform. In this way, this is for us a little bit the path. We know that we have capabilities that very large companies have, and we want to bring that type of knowledge and capabilities to independent labels, so small to medium-sized fashion brands. And this is for us the path to make that impact. Because if I do this path, if I can make this way, and if I can bring this kind of independent labels and give them this kind of structure, what happens in the future is that these small to medium fashion brands can leverage these capabilities and make a real impact in those established ecosystems. So this impact has to do with the way that we see the type of business. And the main goal here is whenever we have a new client that can come to us, and the main thrill that comes with it for us is when we see an independent label that really is bringing a new way of doing the fashion, a new way of doing sports. So imagine, I love like surf and snowboard. It's like if I can bring a company that is disrupting that market because it's new products with a lot of brand material, new ways of thinking that sport, whatever, this is making an impact in an established ecosystem. And today you have to think that what you have right now is a lot of standardization. You have marketplaces, you have the power of Amazon is getting huge, as it happened in the past here in Portugal with the retailing. So you get the producers to reduce their capabilities of being different, and you have those guys standardizing a lot of the market. So we want to make that impact. And obviously the values. We want people curious. We are knowledge and people-centric, but we want to bring that curiosity with excellence. So it's not enough to be very curious if you don't deep dive in the problems. It's not enough if you are curious and knowledgeable, but if you are not excellent, you are not, and you demand that good practices when you deliver the work. You want to have high standards when you are delivering your work. And we are building a meritocratic, and we believe that structure. So we will always empower someone that have these values with us inside our structure. And these values are a little bit the way to build the infrastructure to leverage that path to obtain that mission. And so afterwards, and after building that vision and that mission, and because we have to start there, because otherwise I will build a strategy, a business strategy, but I don't know where I'm going. And so the next thing is, let's build a strategy. Let's understand what is the business that we want to set up, exactly what customers that we want to get to segment, what types of technologies we will want to explore, new things, what disruptions we will want to bring in terms of business model. There are a lot of business models today, what we want to bring to the table as a different thing. And so let's try to think again and doing this reverse engineering on what we are doing. Sorry, this you can't see that much, but I'll try to explain. So this is a part where I sell a little bit. So in terms of the problem that we saw when we created Hub, is a little bit of the complexity of a supply chain today, and the way that is broken down in silos, and so we see that it's not collaborative. And obviously, because there is a lot of silos in terms of technology, you have different systems in terms of infrastructure, logistics infrastructure, you have a lot of parties that you use. In the end, you don't have visibility over the overall supply chain. You have partial visibility over these sort of things. And the main idea is, for me, as a fashion brand, because I'm here in the middle, I can use a lot of different systems and platforms and services, and a lot of different, you can see, but this is warehouses, the transports, and the trucks and the airplanes and the stores, and I use a lot of infrastructure, and this infrastructure represents a lot of different partners. I have a partner here, 2 here, 3 here. I have 2 or 3 tech partners in the way. And so for me as a fashion brand, when I'm trying to manage this whole complexity, I have to deal with a lot of effort. And so what happens is, for me as a fashion brand, I lose my focus. But this is not my business as a fashion brand. What I'm doing is developing this product that you see here and getting to you in terms of selling it to you. And so this is not my core business. I'm just losing my time and effort as you lose if you are catching a taxi and you have to call and whatever. If you can go just to an app and call an Uber, the impact is this: you get much more efficient in something that you don't want to do. It's just nothing that adds too much value to your business. And so the solution that we got to, and sorry again because you can't see that much, but the solution, and I will use a proxy for you to understand. And the guys that work more in technology will follow better this proxy here. Is me as a tech company, I develop a product. So I have developers in product teams and whatever, and we are iterating and developing a product. I don't care, or I could care if you did, that's important to me, but for me, as I'm developing a product in a service, it's not differentiating for me the infrastructure that I'm using. The brand doesn't care if I have the servers in my house, or if I'm using like AWS, for instance. And so what happens is that I'm a tech company, and so I can use AWS to manage all the complexity in the infrastructure on the other side. I don't care, I could care, but the main idea is that I don't care if my data centers that I'm using are in Belgium, in the Netherlands, in Spain, whatever is priced, basically. I don't care where they are. And the main idea is that I'm not managing, and I don't care, and I don't want to manage the infrastructure. What I want is to develop the best product I can. And so I'm here. And I have AWS here managing all the complexity and the infrastructure on the other side. And so we bring a new concept to the table. It is the end-to-end logistics as a service. So you have infrastructure as a service, you have a lot of things as a service today, and we brought another thing to a service too. And the main idea here is me as a brand, I'm developing, and I have to develop my core capabilities and functions. And so what I have to be really good at is developing the best product and selling in the best way possible. So if I can do that, and don't worry about anything that has to do with supply chain and logistics and whatever, if all of these things come together with a very simple, predictable service, as when I use AWS, I click in a button, obviously there are a lot of things happening in the back. Obviously, what will happen is that if I sell a product here, there's physical things happening here throughout the world. We are managing supply chains for 35 brands right now. They are producing in 15 different markets, from China, India, Bangladesh, whatever, and they are selling in more than 70 right now. So imagining the complexity that because we are moving the products around the world. And imagine the complexity of picking up the goods in China and taking them to your house here or to the houses of the US, because we do B2C, we do B2B. So all the infrastructure that there's happening, and we have a warehouse in Portugal, another one in the Netherlands. And so there's a lot of infrastructure that we are leveraging. But for the brand itself, it could care, but in the end, I don't care if the data center is in Belgium. For the brand, it's the same if the fulfillment center is in Portugal or in the Netherlands, if we can fulfill the service level that they want. And so the main idea is this, we want to build a very seamless and very simple logistics as a service, a disruptive model, if you want. Disruptive is a bad word today, but the main idea is this, we understood, and let's again bring a little bit back the process that we were building, is we thought about the vision, the mission, the values, and now we are thinking the strategy. So you can see that the strategy for us is to really reshape a little bit the way that everybody in the logistics industry is today working. And so we found, okay, this is our disruptive way of thinking business model. And this is what we will bring to the table in terms of strategy of our company. And then let's position ourselves and let's get the knowledge of the market itself and the industry. Let's position ourselves among all other parties that are working here in the same industry. And what we found, and obviously everyone that draws this type of graphs is on the right corner, because we are managing the axis, and we always want to be the most different ones. The main idea for us is, in the y-axis, we are doing the supply chain end-to-end. So the visibility that you can have today, we think that is very compact and very silo-based. So you can purchase a service for transports, and you get a very good transport company to do A to B, an A to B service, and you can use a very good guy that manages pickups, and you can use a very good guy that manages air flow. You can do and schedule with a very good guy that does fulfillment centers. And there's a lot of these very good guys, but in the end, what happens is that you don't get the visibility, the end-to-end visibility across the entire supply chain. But in the old way, so in the main partners of this industry today, these guys, and you can see, you probably don't know, but these guys this is the biggest shipping company in the world. This is the biggest forwarding in the world. This is a German company. This is the biggest, what do you call it? It's very difficult to define the Enfong. The Enfong is doing basically managing all outsourcing strategies in terms of supply chain. This is like the orchestrator, as they call them, is the guys that are subcontracting production, subcontracting logistics, subcontracting sales, subcontracting everything. And so they, in the end, they have a very good end-to-end visibility. But let's look at the other axis. So digital capabilities and business model that enables these kind of different business models. What we see here is these are the guys that usually when I talk to a VC, these are the guys that, oh, but you have like Shipbob in your industry, and you have like guys like Flexport, and these are the new economy, let's call it, and the guys that are today developing solutions in the industry that can change a little bit what is being the practice. And what we call them is logistics marketplaces. So I can use Shipbob, it's very easy, very intuitive and whatever, but in the end, what I get is an old industry process digitalized. This is a good thing, but in the end, I've got an old logistic process digitalized. The same with Flexport. I put here Amazon because usually people say, okay, but it's like Amazon could be a competitor to you because they also do fulfillment. They do everything. And so what Amazon for us represents, and because I didn't show you, but the main idea here is, or I showed you, if a brand works with us, all the supply chain of that brand is with us. And that means that from the goods that they are producing in Asia until the end customer, we are managing everything. And this is our scope of work. And that means that if a brand produces in Asia, if a brand sells in B2C, so they have an online platform, they have stores, they have a franchising model, they sell in Amazon, they sell in all these types in different places, in retail, for instance, in a B2B logic. We are doing everything. And so for our brands, we are actually fulfilling orders to Amazon because our brands are also selling to Amazon, as they are also selling for the other 4 different sales channels. And so Amazon for us is a complement in a way that our brands can sell through this channel, but this is one channel in 5 where our brands also sell in Farfetch, for instance. And so this is one channel that our brands use today to sell. And just concluding, I will not sell Hub anymore. The main idea is just, and what I wanted you to understand is a little bit the process here. And so we started up there, we were building the dome, and we were building the vision, the mission, all the values, and we are going down this structure. And we got to the strategy, and strategy is still very up there. It's on the roof. We are very far from the foundations and everything that will make this happen. So we are thinking about the roof still, and it's very hard because we don't know the structure that will be supporting all of these things. And here, I will try to talk to you about something. We use obviously a lot of different frameworks that we develop to think and to be able to, mainly because we are problem solvers, we love to build different ways of solving problems. And the main idea here, and that we use a lot, is we have to break down problems. And break down is not just putting them in smaller problems, is also picking up the dimensions that we have to think about them. And so I can be looking at the same problem, the same size problem, but in different dimensions. And we will see, because this is what we use actually to think about our scalability. And because we are closing an investment round right now, and will make us go much faster, and we will have to grow teams, sales, people, blah, 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 a lot of things. And we have to think about, again, on the roof side, let's think about all the scalability process, and let's build something for us to shape our thoughts about it. No questions until this moment? Okay. So, everything is about framing the work. It's about frameworks, but in a way that this has to be frameworks that helps you to solve the problems that you are solving. Let's not just pick up frameworks from everywhere. We are not a consultancy company, so what we will build is a way to solve problems. And so the main idea here is understand what is the best way to scale your business, because your business has different perspectives. In our way, and when we were doing all this effort to think about how could we scale this business, there were two important axes to consider, so two important dimensions to consider. What enables our scalability, in our case, is digitalization, because we are bringing processes that are still manual, physical, blah, 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 to digital. And the other is actually what is the business model that we are building. And we want to close and to get closer to a SaaS model. We are not still today. We are a hybrid approach. If you see the definition, we are not still there, but we are doing that because basically SaaS, what happens is that you want to have recurring revenue. You have to look at that in a lot of different perspectives and look very closely to your churn rates and all of these things. And so the main idea here is to bring and to guarantee that all the sales complexity comes to a much easier way, and to build all of these frameworks around. We will get into that. The main idea here is we found these two dimensions. So there's a path that we want to do and to achieve. And again, let's break down in these two different dimensions how to move ourselves towards digital. How to make sure that the main processes that we are working today are being digitalized and we are doing in the right way. And how to move ourselves towards SaaS. Because this type of model, and as we want to build the logistics as a service, and it's based obviously in the software as a service framework of business models, the main idea here is, but this has some enablers, some constraints, some structure that you have to think this is a different problem that we have to face. This is another one. So when we are thinking digital, we need to think about processes. We need to think about the industry, the companies, but very specifically to logistics. And we have to know very well the detail about this industry. In this case, what we want to do is we have to know a lot about the customers. We have to know a lot about different business models that we want to apply here and test it, because there's no one doing SaaS right now in the logistics, so this is something very new. Can we go towards SaaS, and how can we go towards SaaS? And so the main idea here is for you to frame a little bit when you are solving this type of problems, is to frame yourself in different dimensions that you want to achieve, that you want to work. And don't be, because if we wanted to do this, and we think about, okay, this is digitalization, and we want to move to SaaS, there are some dependencies. And that's why when you are doing software, right now what you do is you have like microservices architecture and whatever, because you want to lose dependencies. Because if you try to solve everything in one way, if you change something, everything else is going to change. And so let's try to break it down and split a little bit everything that is around you. And we got to the culture. The culture, and this is obviously one of the key things and one of the main drivers that we have at Hub. Because we see that the culture is what gives you the pace to face all the problems that you want to solve, the pace for you to develop the business. And this rhythm is what actually gives you the speed towards your scalability, your different mentality, your openness to see different things along the way. And the main thing is one of the hardest things to maintain with scale. More than the business is the culture, because the business itself, you can frame everything very well. The culture, today you have companies that have like remote places and people working remotely or different offices or whatever. So how do you frame everyone to be very aligned with your goals, with your objectives? If you have, today at Hub, we have right now we have 40 people working there. And obviously we are closing the round, so this will increase significantly. How can we still frame everything in a way that everyone understands the strategy, mainly the vision, the mission, the strategy, the values, and work with it, solving the problems that we want to solve? And so let's start with the governance. And this is very important when you are managing a team, a company, whatever, is the way you manage. And there's a lot of things that I usually listen, and the main idea that I want to share, my vision over it, is that you cannot manage if you don't know what they are doing, because I hear a lot, especially in terms of technology. It's like, I'm from business, but I'm managing technology. I don't need to understand. Now, obviously, you need to understand what everyone is doing, because you are leading also in terms of vision. So you have to see what is out there and the next steps for you. And that is a very important message for this matrix here. Let's try to break it down. So, in terms of governance, what you have is two axes: alignment, autonomy. Here, if I don't have autonomy, but I'm very aligned, this is the main idea, is a very traditional approach. You have very strong leaders, very strong leaders. And they are solving everything, and they have the people working in their solutions. And so you see a little bit the 84, because is that big brother feeling that you have, that if the leader doesn't define everything, nothing happens. And this is not scalable. You can't scale if I'm defining everything. It's impossible for us to scale. Here you are not aligned, you don't have autonomy, so it's like, get out now, because it's like the worst place to work ever. Don't be there. You will not learn, you don't have space for you don't have space to grow. It's like the worst place to be. You have a lot of autonomy, you don't have alignment. This happens with a lot of different companies, and I have a lot of different conversation about it. It's like, I was at Google, for instance. There's an alignment, or if you see what Spotify also does, they really try to align everything, and they give a lot of autonomy. What I feel a lot from the people that I know that work at Google is this: so a lot of times you feel yourselves between this and this quadrant here, because there's a lot of different teams, a lot of different things happening. Everything is just crazy, and in the end, it's very hard for you to understand where to you are working. And so, what happens a lot of the times is that people are working on different directions. Here, the leaders are envisioning the path, and everyone is solving problems. And so this is a very good company to be at. You feel that you have the autonomy, so I'm growing, I'm learning, I have the space to also to realize myself in terms of professionally. So I'm doing things, and I feel that I'm doing things, but I'm working towards a vision. So again, from the beginning, I see where I'm going to, and it is a very important thing for everybody. And you can have like short-term goals for you that you can sustain for you. But if you don't have a vision, in like 1 to 2 years, you will start to lose that effect, because it depends on you, your motivation, and that is very hard to sustain. And I bring another thing. This is something that we are thinking for the future, and we have a lot of different things on our pipelines, because it's the way that you think about your culture and this governance strategy that you have. Because if your culture actually empowers the vision, the knowledge, and especially the feeling of ownership, and when I'm saying the feeling of ownership, I'm not just talking about giving stakes to everybody. It's like, and obviously you feel that, but if you think about all the people that just received from Farfetch a very, very small stake, I don't feel that everybody feels the ownership about the company. So there's a different thing here. It's a different feeling of ownership, that this is mine and I built it. More than I have something, it's mine in terms of a stake. It's like I'm building it. It's mine because I'm contributing to it in a way. And the main idea here is don't forget anyone. Because one of the things that I saw in the companies that I worked before was today you have like the people that think and the people that operationally do stuff. And these people here, you have to be very efficient. So they have the minutes counted, and they have to deliver. The problem with that approach is that this is only short term, because you are the people that are actually doing the stuff and understand all the problems. They don't think, so there's people thinking for them, but these people are not doing the stuff. And so you have a problem here, because in terms of the evolution of the company, these people here will always be operational. In terms of changing management, so if you want to make a change in the process, they don't feel ownership about this change, because I'm the one thinking, and so they are just doing it. And so there's a lot of obstacles if you want to change a process, if you want to change a system, because the people are just doing, they are not contributing to the change. And that's why you have like the change management today when you are developing projects and all of this stuff. But if it is on your culture, you don't have to do like change management processing programs and whatever, because it is on your culture. So everyone, and we have operations, what we want to do and what we try to do is also the people that work in an operation, so physically picking up stuff, we want them also to contribute in a way to developing like our warehouse management system. And we want their contribution, we want the feeling of ownership of those people, because they are the ones that they know better than me the processes. So obviously I can see the vision, probably I know more about the vision of the company, but they know more about the processes. So these are the best people also to bring to the table when you are developing something. And if you can make that change, if you can pass them that feeling of ownership, they will be the first to make that change. Instead of creating like change management programs, let's bring people here to change, consultants, everyone to the same room, and please go, let's change mentality and whatever. No, it's in the culture. It's happening on the ground. It's like you are developing it.
Luis?
Yeah?
Can you talk more in a practical way how you guys do this kind of things at Dub?
Yes, I will wrap up in the end a little bit with that, but yes. Let me think. Maybe let's go to the next slide, and I will make that. I'll make sure that I will tell exactly what we do. Let's just get to that point, because this will help us. Okay. The structure. So we have the governance. We know how to manage people. We have that strategy defined. Now we have another problem, and it's the structure. what structure will we build in the company? And we have a lot of different things and a lot of different companies. You have like no hierarchy, a lot of hierarchy. You have like so high that you have to climb like 1,000 stairs before you can reach an interesting position. You have another one that you don't have, like in there, this everything is flat. And so what's our perception over that? You have the traditional hierarchy approach. This is area oriented, so this guy here is managing an area, these guys are working on that area and reporting to it. This is tight alignment because I'm here, I'm defining, and I'm telling them exactly what to do in those specific areas. These guys telling them exactly what to do. You have autonomy, but only inside your area. So this guy is working on tech, he can define a lot of our tech roadmap, but he can define the way we talk to clients. Partial responsibility over the process. This is a very, very important thing because this is what will change everything. Because this guy here have ownership about tech, but all my process, I don't have one process inside the company that is on one area. That doesn't exist. It's like all the processes that I have, it's like if I think about my customer journey, for instance, the way my customer interacts with me along the way, this is the combination of a lot of different areas, a lot of different functions inside Hub. So if I'm just responsible for me, I have to make sure that this alignment is perfect, because otherwise things will start to get on different directions and on the wrong way. But yet, what you have is like, you have missions, you have goals, you have scope of work per area. The second approach, and it's like what Spotify uses, what a lot of different tech companies use, is okay, but then what they understood is like this doesn't respond to my needs because I don't have flexibility. It's not cross-functional, so I can't merge different people, different teams thinking about the problems because they are thinking about their own problems. And again, when you think about problems, and we were talking about before, it's like not all the time the problems have just two dimensions, and I can split them. Maybe there are other dimensions that I want to think about, but I need both of them because it's the same area. It's the same, I need both of the areas to think that dimension of the problem. So these squads, they have full autonomy, they have end-to-end responsibility, they have mission, goals, and scope of work. So I deploy a team, and this is how it works. I deploy a team that is oriented by a project. So I have a project, it has a scope of work, I have a mission for that team, we want to achieve that, and I have full autonomy and end-to-end responsibility for that team. This is how this framework works. The way we try to build it, and this is iteration after iteration. You have to iterate a lot the processes. Is a matrix. So we have functions. We have the head of AI. We have the head of IT. We have the head of account management. We have the head of sales. We have all those heads. But we also know that these problems that arise sometimes, and a lot of the times, and almost every time, are cross-functional. And we need someone to think about that problem that we want to solve from A to Z. Because otherwise, what I have to do as a leader is I have to think about how this problem is break down by area, and I'm forced to do it. I cannot think in a different way. I have to break down that problem by area, and I have to make sure that I have everyone with a time alignment, because I want to change the way a process and to make another process digital. I need account management people because I need to understand the process. These are guys very close to the client. I need the tech guys. I need the product guys. I need a lot of different guys, and I have to make sure in my head that I'm seeing all the path towards it, exactly the milestones, and make sure that everyone is on pace. Because I need this guy to deliver this at this date, this guy to deliver this at this date, and I will pass that. So you have to deliver this at this date. The other guys, they have to deliver this at this date. You have to think about the solution of this until this date. And in the end, for me, it's a lot of complexity. And so the way that we do a lot of the complex problems that arise is, okay, let's try to deploy a team. And let's deploy a team that is cross-functional. I will pick up this guy that is from tech, he's a developer. And he will solve a problem that is not coded yet, and he will not code at this point. What he will build and will bring to the table is the knowledge about our architecture, the knowledge about our technology, our capabilities. And I will bring a guy that comes from the product team. So he's a guy that knows the roadmap about the product, knows the complexity of bringing the features that will involve this complex problem. And I'll bring someone from the account management team, so someone that works in the client side. And I'll bring all of these people together. I will sit them in the table and I will say, okay, this is the problem that we have to face. This is the goals that we want to face. The 5 goals that we want to achieve. So another thing, whenever we are solving a problem, we always think about the solution up front. We never think about what I'm going to do next. It's like, I'm thinking about the final solution that I want to achieve, let's break it down. Because I can do just like the first phase, but I have to understand the whole picture. Otherwise I will be doing this very well, but I don't know exactly where I'm going. And so I can miss a lot of the important things, and I can be developing things that doesn't matter for the process in some time. And so I have to see the whole picture. And so I will sit and I'll tell them, okay, the mission of something that we want to achieve is this. For this problem here specifically, the scope of work and the goal is this. This is what we want to bring to the table. And so you are cross-functional. You have the knowledge about the architecture, the technology, about the product, about sales or the clients, whatever. And you have end-to-end responsibility. It's on your side to solve the problem from A to Z. It's not like you are solving just a small part, it's A to Z. It's from the conceptualization until the implementation. What happens and what can happen is like, in the end, what we have is like, the solution is to develop a new feature on the product, to change the processing, the way we deal with clients, all of those stuff. In the end, what can happen is, okay, this will enter the roadmap, the product roadmap, but the guy that did all of this work, he knows he's inside the product roadmap. So it will be easy to make that change again, because we will make a change. And this ensures that we have some flexibility, but adjusted to the business requirements. So it's aligned with our vision. It's aligned, it's not so aligned, so tight, but it's aligned. But we still have flexibility. Let's change the roadmap, because this is the solution that we want to bring to the table. And so they have responsibility to solve it end to end. I don't know if it answers to your question, if you want to know more in practical ways.
Yeah, actually I was more interested in understanding, like, you said you have a team of 40 people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not started 40 people on the day zero. So you were in the beginning. How you gradually implemented that vision of having like squads and the matrix and so on? It was since the beginning. When you realized you had to think like this?
It was from the beginning, and that's the main thing here, is that it's easy also for us to implement all of these things because it's cultural. It's not something that we have to implement, you know, it's something that we have as a cultural thing, and that is what I was sharing before. It's like, whenever it's something that you have to force, it's hard because it's a change, and it's hard for someone to accept it. If it's cultural, if it's inside your environment, I can tell you that the main driver today that I see in the people that works at Hub is like, I want to belong to a project. I want to lead the project, and I want to be in projects. Because these are the main problems, these are the hard things to solve. And they are cross-functional. This is a way for me, as an account management, to learn about technology. And we love that. We love people that are interested and curious, you saw about our values. And we want to empower them. And so everyone wants to be in projects. And this is a very interesting thing. When you say, we have a new project, there are people from account management or tech that comes to us, I wanted to be in that project. If you don't mind, of course I don't mind. Let's bring you to the table and to the discussion, because they know that this is something also that breaks their work in some way, because it's like you have operational stuff to do and you will not leave that path in some way. You have those things that you have to do, but this is also a way for you to evolve, for you to be updated about the strategy of the company, to learn. And another very, very, very important thing that I forgot to mention is what you are doing here is also creating communities inside your company. It's much easier for you that have different areas to make sure that everyone gets along in a way that understands each other. Don't create silos like oh, the IT is not delivering and not solving the problems that I have. It's like, no, I'm part of them and the solutions, and I know them very well because I work with them. There's nothing better than working with other people, to know them and to build those relationships. And so this is a way also to create communities inside of your company. Yeah.
Yeah, but are these structures static over time, or you actually transit from one to another? Like how does it work? I didn't get it in practice how it works.
This obviously is not, nothing of them are static.
Because like you have a business focus, but then you also have projects.
Yeah.
So you use metrics so that you can adjust both scenarios?
Yeah, good question. So what we do is we deploy these squads to solve a problem. It's like we build a squad of 3-4 people to solve this problem. The problem has a scope, as I told you. So this is we expect to solve this in like 5 weeks, and this is the scope, the deliverables, the milestones, whatever. In the end, this squad is killed. So basically, everything is done. We come up with a solution. Okay, it's out. It's killed. There's a new project on the way. There's another squad created, and there's nothing equal about it. So the people are different, the teams could be the same, the people are different, and they are all just iterating over each other. So it's like you don't have a structure to do this. We don't set up, it's like this person works with this person. This is exactly the opposite that we want. We want to build and to rebuild things and iterate. So we are constantly building it. Obviously, in terms of hierarchy, this is more static in a way. We don't change like the head of something just because it doesn't happen. The process, and I'm becoming short with that. The process. I only have 2 more slides. I promise. The process for everything to happen, because when you are deploying this and in a practical way, there's a lot of constraints, because you have resource management. You have to have resource management policies. Why? Because I have a leader here or here, and I'm actually taking time of one of their resources, but it's not like this guy wasn't like stopped for 20% of his time, right? They have to reallocate things. And so we have to have that resource management policy very clear. It's like, if I take 20% out of you, you have capacity. And how can you solve fastly this change? How can you do that? And so you have a policy, and you have to have this policy very, very, very present in all the leaders of the organization. The way you create squads, I was talking about. So you deploy one, you kill, you deploy, you kill. It's like this is always happening. Depends on the projects and problems that you are solving. The alignment. So we want to, and we have to make sure that all the squads that we have inside internally are working towards a goal, and understand that our other squads working on other goals. And so this is an alignment, and this is something that obviously you are always iterating. This is something that we don't have like very, very officially. It's like we don't put together all the squads in a room on Thursdays to do this. It's something that we do informal, but it's something that we see on scale, that we will have to make sure that there's an alignment pace, that this happens more regularly over time. And the most important thing is you have to iterate, and iterate a lot of times. Because if you don't, you will start to be stuck in local optimums. It's like, this is a good thing for you to do, but in the end, it's not the best. You can do better than that. So you have to be iterating. It's like today it's like 4 people, then 5 people, then 6 people. Then you deploy one with a longer term, then a shorter term goal. Then you just move around and you just test it, and you see what is the best way to fit your company. It's very important that you iterate all the time, because when you are scaling, you are growing. And so all the things are changing constantly. And the way to adapt is from iteration. You don't adapt because you thought about the strategy long term and you just go for that strategy. No, you have to iterate along the process. And so we have these 4 points that we have to make sure that to deploy this kind of strategy, that we have to make sure that we look, at least that we look at these 4 points. And to end, the method. So what you have here is, my background is also on the computing engineering, but also on management, industrial management. And industrial management, you have a lot of these mentalities, like Kaizen brought this continuous improvement philosophy that they deploy in Toyota, and it is happening that started in Toyota, and they started to deploy and to scale to the world. And what you see that in industry and retail, this continuous improvement methodology and mindset brought a lot of good things. You could change the way you were delivering cars, and so instead of just pushing to the market, so I was just producing cars, in some way you could change the mentality so much that you were selling cars before producing them. And so you started to create a just-in-time methodology. And this is a mindset, a change mindset. It's huge. It's more than Scrum. It's huge. And what happened, and so the idea here is that you generate, this is something that happens for a lot of years. And so I bring the Volkswagen example here. It's like you generate new ideas. This happens for like 20 or 30 years from now, from then. And so you have like a factory just to deploy the new process. This process is working very well. They have results, whatever. They test it, they have results, this is working, they standardize. And this is the main idea of the continuous improvement. One of the key things is you standardize that process. After standardization, you do the cross-pollination. You pick up the best practice and deploy on all your infrastructure, all the teams, all the factories, whatever. The change and the thing that changed along the way, and you start to see the Agile's methodologies and Scrum or whatever, is you start to do this, but in a much faster pace. It's like you have to be much faster than that. You have to generate an idea, test, prototype, fast, skill, standardize. Today we don't standardize so much. And cross-pollination. It's like you have to be super fast in that. And that is perfect. But the thing here is that we are in a fast-paced, changing world. And so the speed of the world, it's not uniform, it's changing. You are accelerating all the time. How can you bring that acceleration back? Because if it's just about the speed, I was doing here in 6 months, today I'm doing in 2 weeks. But how can I do this in like 14 days, 13 days, 12 days? Because the world is doing that. And other companies are not doing just Agile and Scrum. They are doing other methodologies and applying other methodologies to make it faster. How can I, as an organization, prepare myself for that? Because otherwise, I'll be very good at this, but there's other guys stepping in with a lot of energy, pace, and mentality, and I'm young, but still there's a lot of people living in college, and these guys are just pushing themselves to the limit. So how can I evolve at a certain, and increase the pace of this evolution? And the main idea here is you generate and explore 10 new approaches, methodologies, tools. It's like exactly what happens with us as people. It's like, this is cumulative. So I'm learning about something new to apply that, and in like 1 month, I have to be much better on doing that. But I don't have to do that in all the same paths and the same structure. I can learn new things, different things, and to bring those different things to help me doing this one. And so what I want is to really to be able to explore new approaches, to test obviously, prototype, kill, because you don't find on all of them. So only 3 from these 10 went through. And the cross-pollination, so you standardize, and you have to standardize. So you don't just prototype, you have to apply it, you have to standardize. And after that, it's working, let's put it out. But the main idea is that you don't just change the speed, you change the way you can improve that speed. So the speed became acceleration. It's like you are moving faster over time. And this is the main idea that I wanted to share with you, and a little bit our vision about culture. Obviously, don't think that at Hub is like you enter and you see this and it's like happening everywhere and it's exactly like this. No, and culture is about the small things and the small details. It's something that when you deploy a project, you feel, okay, I want to be the people, they want to be in it. This is cultural. The cultural thing is something that is in them, in a way. Is that I don't have to, no, but you have to be in this project. But I have my function, I work, I'm not like 20% of my time free. And the leader is saying, I have to do this work, and I don't have that resources 20% free. But they are the ones that wanted to do this change. And sometimes to do this change, knowing that you cannot always compensate. It's like, oh no, I will cut 20% out. Not all the time. In startups especially, that not always happens. And so, this is the main idea. I hope that you like. I don't know if you have questions or something that I could address. I hope that you like, and I could pass a little bit the message to you. And go ahead.
No, just
Like it. Thank you. And thank you for your attention.